Friends, our story begins in the year 2120. On board a Weyland-Yutani spaceship. Inside this ship, humans, cyborgs, and synths all lived in cryosleep. They only woke up for short periods, just to eat. During one of these wake cycles, the crew sat together, talking about how their company, Weyland-Yutani, now controlled both North and South America on Earth. And in space, it ruled over Saturn and Mars. But Weyland-Yutani wasn't alone. For other companies were also rising in power. The newest among them was Prodigy, founded just 10 years ago by a young boy named Boy Cavalia. On board this Weyland-Yutani ship, creatures from all across the universe had been gathered. And once the crew went back into cryosleep, these alien creatures broke free. The scene shifts to Earth to a research island owned by Prodigy. There, we see a girl suffering from a terminal illness. She had only a few days left to live. By her side was a synthetic AI robot named Kirsch. At that moment, Dr. Sylvia arrived and took the girl, Marcy, with her. The doctors were preparing to transfer Marcy's consciousness into a synthetic body, creating the world's first human synthetic hybrid. Boy Cavalier himself told Marcy, "Just like Neil Armstrong was the first human to set foot on the moon, you will be the first to make this leap." To ease her mind, he even played a cartoon film for her. As Marcy went through the transition, she whispered, "From now on, call me Wendy." The scene shifts again. Now Marcy had become Wendy. She was sitting alone at the top of a mountain. When Dr. Sylvia came to call her back, Wendy leapt straight down from the mountain with ease. She was no longer an ordinary human, she had become far stronger. But even with this new body, Wendy still struggled to understand herself. She had been given an adult synthetic body right away, because she would never age again. And in this artificial body, her brain no longer produced the hormones that create human emotions. Confused, Wendy asked Kirsch, "If I'm not human, then what am I?" Kirsch gently replied, "You are whatever you choose to be." Meanwhile, more terminally ill children had been brought to the facility. Wendy, like a big sister, explained the entire procedure to them. One by one, their consciousness was also transferred into synthetic bodies. But back in space, the situation had turned into a nightmare. The aliens had slaughtered almost everyone aboard the Weyland-Yutani ship. Only one cyborg, Morrow, had survived. When his partner begged him for help, instead of opening the door, Morrow sealed it shut even tighter. The alien xenomorph killed her instantly. Now the creature tried breaking into Morrow's chamber as well. But Morrow contacted his command, warning them that the ship was about to collide with Earth. Just before the xenomorph reached him, he escaped into a safe impact room, a chamber the alien could not enter. The ship continued hurtling toward Earth, destined to crash. The story now shifts to a city controlled by Prodigy. Here we meet a young man named Joe. He was Wendy's brother, though he believed his sister had died long ago. Wendy secretly hacked into Prodigy's systems, using CCTV cameras to watch her brother from afar. Joe worked as a medic for Prodigy. He had no idea his sister was still alive. As children, Joe and Wendy had watched the Ice Age movies so many times that they still remembered every line by heart. On this day, while Joe was at work, that very spaceship came streaking through the sky. And right before his eyes, it crashed into a nearby building. Joe and his team were immediately sent out on emergency rescue duty. Inside the wreckage, Morrow emerged from the impact room. He quickly contacted his headquarters, demanding reinforcements. Meanwhile, Wendy was taking a test when news of the crash appeared on the monitors. She hacked the systems again and confirmed what she feared: Joe was there, inside the danger zone. Boy Cavalier was briefed about the crash site. That's when Wendy stepped in and said, "Send us there. We can help with the rescue. And this way, it can also serve as our real-life test." Kirsch revealed the truth that Wendy is desperate to reach her brother. Cavalier thought it over and agreed. "This way, I can also see how well they perform in the field." Wendy returned to her companions and told them the news. They were heading out on their first real rescue mission. Together with Kirsch, they set off. Meanwhile, inside the crashed ship, Morrow was doing everything he could to avoid the arriving soldiers. The rescue team encountered horrifying alien creatures and the bodies of the slaughtered crew. Suddenly, one of the soldiers was attacked by a creature. As panic spread, Morrow frightened the soldiers into dropping their weapons, then tied them up, leaving them defenseless. By now, Morrow had realized that the crash had taken place in Prodigy's territory. As he moved deeper into the ship, the creature finished its attack, killing both soldiers on the spot. As Joe kept moving deeper into the ship, he didn't realize that a creature was stalking him from behind. He and his team stumbled across the bodies of the crew. But Joe noticed something chilling. These people didn't die in the crash, he said. They were already dead long before impact. And right there, lurking nearby, was a xenomorph. Joe and two of his teammates reached the edge of the wrecked building. To get across, they needed to jump. His two teammates made it safely. But when it was Joe's turn, the xenomorph appeared. Joe leapt to escape but fell one floor lower. Scrambling to survive, he rushed inside an elevator. Through his walkie-talkie, he called desperately for help. The scene shifts to one day earlier. Joe had actually tried to resign from his job. He had been accepted into medical school, but his Prodigy contract still had 7 months left. Wendy, hacking into Prodigy's systems, overheard all of this. She had been secretly watching her brother every day, and the Prodigy executives had started to notice her hacks. At that moment, Joe quoted a line from the Ice Age movies, a line he and Wendy had memorized as kids. Wendy, listening in, repeated the full dialogue aloud through the system. Joe was confused. How could a robot know that line? Even Prodigy's officials were shocked to see Wendy interfering so boldly. Later, Wendy confessed to one of her companions, slightly. "I'm going there for him," she said. "I'm going to save my brother." Soon, Wendy and her team reached the crash site. As soon as she stepped inside, she began hearing a strange buzzing sound in her head. She hacked into the building's cameras and found Joe trapped inside that elevator. Without hesitation, she rushed toward him. Kirsch quickly sent slightly after her for backup. Meanwhile, Boy Cavalier received a call from Yutani. She demanded their ship back. But Cavalier calmly replied, "It crashed on my land, on my building. If you come here, it will be treated as a hostile act. Speak to my lawyer. Then we'll see." Back inside the wreckage, Wendy pushed forward. The buzzing in her head grew louder and sharper. Elsewhere, Kirsch and the other hybrids advanced together. Even though they had strong synthetic bodies, their minds were still childlike. They came across the bodies of 2 dead soldiers. And then they saw what had killed them. A cat appeared, but inside it, an alien parasite burst out. The creature lunged at the hybrids, but their bodies were too powerful. They managed to capture it. Meanwhile, Wendy spotted claw marks along the walls. Joe had already escaped the elevator and pushed ahead. He ran into another soldier. Together, they entered a section of the building where, unbelievably, a group of people were still partying, completely unaware of the horror outside. Even when the soldier warned them, they refused to leave. They locked their doors, ignoring everything. That's when the xenomorph attacked the soldier. The screams alerted the partygoers, and when they opened the door, the xenomorph stormed inside, slaughtering everyone. Joe barely survived. Grabbing a gun, he pressed forward. But the xenomorph turned on him too. Just as it was about to kill him, Morrow arrived. Morrow attacked the alien, then struck Joe as well. He sprayed a chemical substance onto the xenomorph, trapping it inside a cocoon-like bag. Moments later, more soldiers arrived. They ordered Morrow to evacuate the building. Suspicious of the strange bag he carried, they demanded he raise his hands. Morrow obeyed, but in that moment, the xenomorph broke free. It tore through the soldiers, killing every last one. Only Morrow survived. Meanwhile, Kirsch was analyzing the ship's data. He discovered it was a research vessel designed to collect alien species. Inside, he even found records of eggs. Kirsch turned to one of the hybrids, Smee, and ordered, "Go check that sector." Back on the ground, Wendy watched helplessly as the xenomorph unleashed chaos. Slightly muttered, "That's gotta be a bear or something." At that same moment, Joe regained consciousness. He found himself near a room where a baseball was displayed, a relic from a famous player. And from behind, Wendy finally reached him. But of course, Joe didn't recognize her. Before she could reveal herself, Kirsch's voice came through her comms. "Wendy, go to the ship's front section immediately. Retrieve the cargo. This mission is critical." So Wendy told Joe to come with her. He agreed. As they moved together, slightly slipped up, blurting out that she was Joe's sister. Joe refused to believe it, but Wendy reminded him of moments from their childhood, things only Marcy could have known. At last, Joe realized the truth. Tears filled his eyes as he embraced his sister. Soon they came upon the alien eggs. And from them, that buzzing sound grew louder than ever for Wendy. Hermit moved closer to examine them, but the xenomorph struck again, dragging him away. Without hesitation, Wendy ran after it. And friends, this is where our story's first part ends. Tell us in the comments how you liked this explanation. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We'll meet again in the next part.